Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Chandrika pursuing my BA course at SJC Institute of Technology, Chikbadapur, and I do come from the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering. So, now I will discuss the universal human values based on the topic how to evaluate and judge the people. How to evaluate and judge the people. And why do people judge others? Judging others often makes us to feel superior. Tearing other people down is one of the most common ways that people prop themselves up. By judging others very harshly, we compare ourselves to them and feel superior. Compared to their lives, their behavior, their physique, we look pretty good. And also, we judge the people around us by their status and wealth. We ignore the talent and the values that they have got. It is not only the money that makes a man a good human being, it is the value, the skill, the knowledge, the worship that he does, and also the talent that make someone excellent. And how to evaluate the attitude with work. So here I have listed few points, that is by avoiding the attack of personality, and to be specific and to provide the examples, and to be very direct, having one-on-one meetings, informal chats, and to encourage an attitude adjustment and others. Here we go with an overview of the evaluation process, that is, observation, gathering the information, analyzing the information which has been gathered, and drawing the conclusion. So, the program evaluation process, it goes through the four phases, mainly the planning, implementation, completion, and dissemination and reporting it finally, that complement the phases of the program development and implementation. Each phase has got its own unique issues, methods, and the procedure. While these mirror common program development steps, it is important to remember that our evaluation efforts may not always be linear depending on where you are in your program or the intervention. So, in this first stage, observation, it starts by observing an individual actions. Again, in gathering information, it collects all the relevant information about the individual. Again, it will analyze the information at each piece of the information in detail, and finally in the drawing conclusion, it is to draw an appropriate conclusion which has been based on the information collected. Here we have the factors that influence our judgments, that is, the physical appearance, stereotyping, cognitive biases, context, emotional state, and confirmation bias. People's physical appeals give our perception of their abilities in the physical appearance. In stereotyping, that is, preconceived notions about the groups of the people misrepresent about those individuals, and in context settings, the situations and the circumstances impact our evaluations of the people. In emotional state, where it can cloud our judgment. In confirmation bias, the tendency to favor the information that confirms our already held. The cognitive factors, it plays a very significant role in decision making and judgment. These factors, it can be divided into three main categories, such as the perception, memory, and reasoning. Also, the factors influencing the decision making are the personality, culture, context, information available, and also the level of education at primarily. The types of biases that affect our evaluations: affinity bias, an inclination for or against the people based on their personality similarities with ours; attribution bias, when we incorrectly judge the individuals based on integral or the external factors; confirmation bias, favoring the information that confirms already held beliefs rather than objectively evaluating the information; halo effect, it's a general positive appraisal of an individual that makes a positive impact in their individual trait; Horn's effect, it is just the opposite of the halo effect, where a negative evaluation of one aspect of an individual will cast a shadow on their positive trait. And now Let's see how to minimize the bias and to improve the accuracy. That is, minimizing the bias and improving accuracy. So, here we have the suspend judgment, that is, to attend the behavior of an individual without any kind of judgment, to be aware of cognitive biases, that is, consider your assumptions and prejudices, to use the objective criteria, to create and rely on the objective criteria to evaluate the individuals, and to have a second opinion, that is to get a second opinion, consult with someone that you respect and trust the more, and also to avoid the group identity, to recognize the tendency to identify with groups and not let these associations cloud your judgment. And there are some other ways to reduce the bias in machine learning, that is to identify the potential sources of bias, to set the guidelines and rules for eliminating the bias and procedures, to identify the accurate representative data, the document and share how the data is selected and cleansed, and also the screen models for bias as well as the performance, and also to monitor and review the models in the operation. Now we will have a look at the importance of context in evaluations. In situational influences, that is, the individual respond to the different situations in different ways. So this influences the evaluations. Cultural differences, the culture which plays a very vital role in shaping our perspective and influences the way that we judge the people. Relationships, the very important one, that's the kind of the relationship between an evaluator and the individual being evaluated that influence our own opinions. And finally we have the time frame. The evaluation should consider the period over which observations were made and not rely on a single point in time. Apart from this, the 14 context evaluation, it is an important part of the evaluation process in which the background knowledge and beliefs about the program and the program's objectives and its role in the society are explored. So, what are the ethical considerations in evaluating the others? So, in general, the participants must be allowed sufficient time to consider the information and to raise any queries before deciding whether or not to participate. The information should include the purpose of the evaluation, the nature and the duration of their involvement. And also we know that the ethical evaluation, it involves the standards of the conduct which promote the integrity, honesty and respect in all dealings with the program owners and evaluation participants, and in the use of evaluation data from all the sources. Apart from that, the truthfulness, fairness, respect, and also to use the evaluations for the appropriate purposes, that is to be honest about what you are evaluating and why. And also the evaluations should be very fair. We have to use the objective criteria to evaluate the people and to treat everyone equally. We have to treat others with respect and utmost care, and we have to consider their feelings, and we should not demonstrate the bias. And also we have to use the evaluations only for their intended purpose. Here we go with the practical applications of effective evaluation techniques. The first one is the performance evaluations, that is to track the employee performance and reward their hard work. And second one is hiring the new employees. The screen applications to ensure the new hires to fit the expected requirements. Next, finally, we have the training and the developmental plans to develop the plans that enhance the individual strength areas and minimize the extent of their weakness. Apart from this, the evaluation of teaching can have many purposes, including collecting the feedback for teaching improvement, developing a portfolio for job applications, or gathering the data as part of personal decisions such as reappointment or the promotion and tenure. And finally, here we go with the conclusion. So, a reasonable conclusion might be stated as follows, that is, the degree to which a person can make accurate judgment about others is the function of his or her general ability to judge and of specific situational and interactional factors. But the greater his or her general ability to judge, the less will be the relative influence of it. So, according to me, my opinion on judging others is like We know that the world around is like our mirror, and judging someone does not define who they are, it just defines who we are. More often than not, the things that we detest and judge in others are a reflection of the things that we cannot accept about ourselves. The yardstick we use for ourselves is the yardstick that we use for the world. And finally, I can also conclude by saying that it's very important to recognize the impact of the first impression, behavioral patterns, communication skills, having a body language, past actions, context, and bias on our evaluations of others. So, by considering all the factors which have been mentioned above and striving for the fair and accurate evaluations, we can better understand those around us and can build a very stronger relationship based on the mutual respect and trust and having a good understanding. So, thank you, everyone.